How to optimize our home Wi-Fi network. Our home is our castle, and we have a number of wireless devices in our home. It is very important to have strong Wi-Fi network in all corners of the house. And it is also important to have a reliable home network that can cater to all our browsing needs. In this video, we will go through all the tips and tools you need to optimize your home Wi-Fi network. Adjust your router placement. Make sure the router is in the central location of your home. That way, the router can cover all the corners of your home. A router is not a pretty looking device, but that doesn't mean you can tuck that router into your cupboard. Place your router in a free open space and make sure there are no thick concrete walls or brick walls or stone walls next to the router. It is very hard for the wireless network to penetrate through these thick walls. Wi-Fi networks use radio frequencies to transmit and receive data. The radio spectrum is shared, which means all of your neighbors could be using the same radio frequency. For example, if you are in a 2.4 GHz network, there are 11 available channels in a 2.4 GHz network. You can use a free tool like Wi-Fi scanner. You can install this on your Android mobile, and you can scan for all the available networks in your home. You'll get a pretty graph like this. Carefully examine this graph and then choose a channel that is less crowded. Do the same for 5 GHz spectrum as well, and then note down the channel numbers that are less crowded. Now you can log into your routers management portal and you can navigate to the Wi-Fi settings screen. Based on the make and model of your router, the interface might be different, but you should be able to locate the screen. Once you are in this screen, you can modify the channel for the 2.4 GHz network as well as the channel for the 5 GHz network. You will be using the channels that you have found out in the previous step. And then click OK and then save the changes. Now your Wi-Fi network will be using one of the less crowded channels, thereby delivering optimum performance. When purchasing a new router, always buy a dual band router. When I say dual band router, go for simultaneous dual band. Few router manufacturers claim they are dual band routers, but only one radio can work at a time. If you purchase a simultaneous dual band router, it means it will have two separate radio antennas. It will have a 2.4 GHz radio as well as a 5 GHz radio, which is good because you can now have two separate Wi-Fi networks. Here are the pros and cons between 2.4 GHz network versus 5 GHz network. 2.4 GHz network has comparatively slower speed, but it offers a good coverage area. It has longer coverage area, whereas your 5 GHz network offers faster speeds, but it has shorter range. It is always a good practice to turn both the radios on, which means you'll have two separate Wi-Fi networks. Few of the legacy devices doesn't support the new 5 GHz spectrum, which means you can make all your new devices to use the 5 GHz spectrum, and you can make all your old devices to use the 2.4 GHz spectrum. This way, the load is balanced between both the networks and you have optimum data delivery to all your devices. We are now in 21st century. Can you guess what is the fastest way to transfer data? It is a wire. Let me share a home networking secret with you. Any device that accepts a wire gets a wire. For example, all your gaming consoles, if you're using an Xbox or a PlayStation, they use a lot of data. And if they accept an Ethernet cable, always use an Ethernet cable to connect your gaming consoles instead of using the wireless network. Your streaming devices, if your streaming devices accept a Ethernet cable, just use an Ethernet cable instead of your home Wi-Fi. And your IP cameras, if your IP camera accepts a wire, always use a wired connection for your IP cameras. The next is the smart TV. You can always use an Ethernet cable to connect your smart TV to the internet. You are not going to move your smart TV around in your house. So if it is in a fixed location, you can always use a Ethernet cable instead of the wireless network. Next is the Internet of Things. If you're using a smart plug or smart lights or smart whatever, it is always a good practice to buy a home automation hub or a smart home hub and then transfer all these devices from Wi-Fi network to Zigbee or Z-Wave networks. Your home Wi-Fi spectrum is a precious resource. Carefully consider how all these devices in your home connect to the internet. That way you can free up your Wi-Fi for all the mobile devices. If you're having a slow Wi-Fi connection, first thing, find out the devices that are hogging the bandwidth. Your PlayStation or your streaming device might be consuming most of the Wi-Fi bandwidth. To find this out, you can always log into your router's management portal and look for a section called Internet Usage. Here, it will display all the devices in your home and the current bandwidth they are using. This could be a good place for you to start your investigation, and then you can move all the devices that are consuming most of the Wi-Fi bandwidth into a wired connection. Last but not the least, always update your router firmware and make sure your router is using the latest software. And it is also a good practice to recycle your router often. When I say recycle, you just have to turn off your router, unplug it, and then plug in again. These are a few of the tips and tricks that you can use to optimize your home network.